And there are various ways that one can set up a framework for discussing, for bringing people into a domain where we can talk about these special senses of critical. And I'm going to use one today that I haven't used before, which is it has to do with the difference between quantitative research and qualitative research. And the one reason I'm framing it like this is last semester I had to teach a course in general research methods in education. And I agreed to do it because we were short-staffed, but I thought, I don't want to teach that course. But I did, and that meant I looked at a lot of books and articles that introduce people to educational research. Also, I looked in sociology, anthropology, and they all talk about qualitative research and quantitative research. I didn't find a single one that really conveyed a good understanding to me of what qualitative researchers do. I mean, it was really, really misleading stuff. And these are books by people like Cresswell and Borg and Gall and Borg. And some of them say, well, in quantitative research, our data is in the form of numbers, but in qualitative research, our data is in the form of words. And that's the difference, okay. Well, the more I thought about it, the more I decided we shouldn't even call qualitative social research qualitative. Not that that's ever going to go down, but here's the reason. The word qualitative is related to the words quality, qualia, and it's a concept that originates with the paradigm of object perception for knowledge. Knowing is seeing something. And when we examine objects, we find that they have qualities, and it's their qualities that enable us to distinguish one object from another object. We know that's a chair because we're cognizant of its size, its shape, really. And we can contrast it with other chairs through things like its color, textures, the length of its runners on the bottom, that kind of thing. Those are all qualities. Okay. So quality comes up as a concept in the context of thinking of knowledge with the paradigm of seeing. Knowing is like seeing things, and things can be studied either qualitatively or quantitatively. So in chemistry, for example, this qualitative data analysis, there was a time in my life when I thought I'd be a chemist. So I study a lot of chemistry, and qualitative analysis in chemistry, it just means you're identifying the substances that are within something, like a gas or a liquid, something you're interested in, and it means you're not looking at the quantities or ratios numerically specified. You're just getting at the qualities that the substance is composed of. Again, it's entirely dependent on being in an observer's position and knowing through observing, knowing through seeing. So, in the physical sciences, to explain things that we observe, the patterns that we see, it becomes necessary to postulate transcendent entities like electrons, neutrons, force fields, electromagnetic waves, things that we don't observe, that we don't perceive, but that we need to postulate in order to explain what we do. And we create models, which means knowledge in the form of a model is knowledge having representation as the key concept. To know is to have an accurate representation of something. Okay, this is something we also critique in critical epistemology. We say representation is secondary, not primary mode of knowing. The transcendent entities in physical research are ontologically of the same kind as the entities that we experience, that we do see. So when we experience chairs and tables and apples and things like that, we regard them as substances made of matter that persist in space and time, that have a spatial location and that persist in time. And it's the same with the postulated entities that we call transcendent. Not transcendental, but transcendent. It means supersensible. It means they're postulated, but they're not experienced. Okay. In psychology, the transcendent involves things that have an ontologically different status than what we actually perceive. So psychologists are interested in people's emotional states, people's capacities, intellectual capacities, capacities for empathy, whatever it may be, people's self-esteem. These are all things that are ontologically different from what we actually experience through our senses. So the transcendent in psychology is based on a different principle than in the physical sciences. But psychologists still, in the mainstream, they use methods of inquiry that are like the methods we use in chemistry and physics. We do observations and you construct models.